40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm Jinx Monsoon, and welcome to the next episode of I'm 40% Podcast. Today, we're reviewing Season 2, Episode 5, Something About the Sewers. Nick, what's the title of the episode?
I second that emotion.
Yeah, they went that route for the title. I see why they did that. Okay, I'll allow it. As always, my co-host is Nick Sahoya, pictured somewhere on your screen. And today, our guest is none other than the spiciest meatball. It's Meatball.
Hello!
Hi, Meatball.
Hi.
Can I call you Meat?
Yeah, you can call me Meaty, Meats, Fat,
Mimi.
Mimi. Oh, they're gonna Mimi the hell out of you.
Just me. Shout out to Kennedy. How are you doing today, Meatball? What are we drinking?
I'm great. I'm having I got an ice machine that makes crushed ice, so I just keep drinking sparkling water with crushed ice because I like to chew on ice. Oh, and you're drinking a Perrier. We're twins.
I found it in my hotel fridge.
Ooh. I love when someone else pays for the hotel. What?
I can't drink bubbly water. It gives me indigestion.
Oh.
It's very sad.
That's sad.
I was really into it for a while. Brought me a lot of joy.
Whenever I hear the word indigestion, I think of little Edie in the documentary when she goes, "I love these donuts, but I don't eat them because they give me indigestion." Like he gets up to the camera to whisper into the. I love when she tells little secrets. Meatball, are you a fan of Futurama already?
I am. Well, I'm a fan of the first block of seasons before they took a break, and then they came back.
And the rest
but
of
I've
it,
seen
you just
every single episode of it.
Okay.
Well, you're into the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know the good stuff pretty well.
Yeah, because like 2 or 3 years ago, I got back into just using it as when I'm working on a costume or doing something, it's just playing in the background because you can kind of understand what's happening without having to see it.
Yeah. I was just talking about how it's good background. It's good background television. Yeah, I actually, I'm having reservations. I don't know if I'm going to allow this part of our last episode to air, but I was talking about how Futurama is good hookup TV. When you have a hookup coming over, you got to put something on to fill the awkward silence that usually follows seeing me naked. But now I'm afraid if I put that out into the world, anyone that I've watched Futurama with and ended up fooling around with is going to be like, "Oh, so that was just Jinx's MO. That was just how she operates." Oh, so I don't know. Do you
Meatball, what's your seduction technique? Do you put on a cartoon? Do you just wait for your little husband to be gone and just sneak him in the back? What do you do?
Well, now that I'm in a relationship, the technique is sending a text while I'm upstairs and he's downstairs. It's like, "Hey, you want to come?" But before that, it would be, yeah, you just want to come, you want to get the poison out. Before that, it would be a lot of let's go grab a drink. But now I don't really drink as much, so it's do you want to go see a movie and leave halfway through or see what happens in the theater? You know what I mean?
I'm only going to spend time talking about this because I think there's a moment in the episode that really speaks to what we're talking about right now. But I don't know. We're all of an age where it used to feel like what was normal was to pretend you're doing anything but having sex.
Yes.
That's where Netflix and chill came from.
Yeah.
But the younger people I sleep with, they just want to know what's on the table ahead of time.
Oh,
and so
absolutely.
now it's my seduction techniques are, "Hello, would you like to come over, pretend to watch TV, and then we start making out?"
Yeah, you
I
really
always
gotta
say-
lay down the groundwork with like 25-year-olds these days. It's all about consent, right?
I'm always like, do you want to watch a scary movie and make out during the boring parts? Because let's be honest,
Yeah, it's like, let's not go through the rigmarole just to be friends, I don't need any
Again,
more
here
friends.
I am giving my cruising. I'm like putting it all out there, and I'm gonna get hate texts tomorrow.
Oh,
I'm actually
no.
quite nervous. Would you feel offended if you slept with someone and then you heard their podcast and they were like, "This is let me give you my play-by-play book of rules."
No, that's how most people feel about me, because on my podcast, they know exactly who I'm talking about. And it's not hard. I give locations, dates. People.
Because you have a segment on your podcast called Fuck Talk.
Yes,
Yeah.
we have a fuck talk segment, and like there was a time before I was seeing my boyfriend now, I would literally be like, so I was in Chicago this weekend, and like anybody in Chicago was like, I know exactly who he's talking about. And that person would text me and be like, why'd you do that? And I was like, because I got to get it out. People
did
need
you
to
lose
hear.
did you lose any friendships over that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, good.
Not a one.
Good. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my Virgo anxiety OCD brain to calm down for a second and just enjoy the ride, okay? So you are a fan of Futurama already.
I am.
When you watched this episode, did it all come back to you? You were like, I know this episode.
It did. And also, this episode, I feel like, is one of like the ones that really stuck with me because it's got some of Bender's best lines,
Very
and
good
it's like
Bender
a
moments.
Bender storyline, which I always love those. Also, for some reason, I thought like, oh, they're going into the sewers. This is when Leela's gonna meet her parents, and it wasn't that episode.
Spoilers!
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just...
But it
No,
wasn't
we've
that
spoiled
episode.
almost
so I guess
we've
I
spoiled almost everything about the
forgot.
show already.
Oh, good. Well, I guess I forgot that happens way later. I kind of thought it happened
Yeah.
way earlier.
Well, because they're so good at foreshadowing in this show, I was looking for Leela's parents in the background of all the
Yeah.
sewer scenes to see if they gave us any hints. I couldn't find any. Maybe I
I
missed
think
it.
the first time you see them is at the end of the Cyclopia episode, right? Where she's like back on Earth
So
Oh,
we
yeah.
and
already
it
know
pans down.
So we already know, right?
That
Has
episode has
Cyclope-
not happened yet.
Oh my god.
No. Is this the first time they go into the underground? Into
Yes,
the
this is
underground?
the introduction of the sewer mutants. Yes. They may have been underground at some point, like in the pilot where they go into the old destroyed New York. But this is the first
right.
sewer mutant episode.
Yeah, is old New York separate from the sewer? Is there
Well,
like
underground
No.
Seattle is separate from the sewer in Seattle, so maybe it's like that.
No, but I thought New York was built on top of Old New York because then in the Titanic episode,
Yeah.
it's like right
so
under
when you
the
go
surface.
into the sewer, you must be bypassing old New York and going down even further, right?
What?
Yeah, no, unless they built a new sewer system on top of Old New York, which would mean when they went to Old New York, they were actually going down further than the sewer, and this is the first time they're making a stop at the sewer level.
They do talk about in this episode that there's a sub sewer with
for the
horrifying
suburban legend
sub-mutants.
joke.
Yeah.
But we saw someone living in Old New York because when Bender became a trolley, there was someone sleeping on him at the end. So people live in Old New York. They're squatting there,
Wasn't there a mutant too, or is that in a different
Yes,
episode?
there was a
There
mutant.
was a
'cause
mutant.
in the sewers of Old New York.
Oh no.
What
We've
are
got
the
too deep.
rules?
What are the rules?
So essentially, what we know about New York is that it is a trifle. It is a parfait of old New Yorks and various sewer systems. Oh, okay.
Oh god, that's so confusing. Oh well.
So Nick, why don't you start us at the top of the episode?
Great. We have an unusual cold open. It's a commercial for Glagnar's Human Rinds. It's a bunch of Muncha Cruncha human. Not the only time they do a fake commercial, but it's one of the only ones. And then the text underneath the intro is made from meat byproducts. I didn't think it was very funny. They've done better. We open on... I'm sorry. I've got a lot of
Wow.
notes so far. I
Drag
will say,
them.
when this episode started, I was like, I remember this being one of my least favorite of the early episodes, but then there was lots of funny quotable moments, so
Yeah.
I ended up enjoying it. Go ahead, Mom.
I was just gonna say it's a good episode, but I'm not huge on poop humor. Like,
So much
I think
poop.
good poop humor is good, but I don't need sound effects. Like I just finally finished The White Lotus. Spoilers for anyone, but it's like I didn't need to see him take the shit. It was enough to know he was
Why didn't
taking
we
a
have to
shit.
watch
I didn't need to
come
watch
out?
it.
We had to see it snake down.
Snake.
Meatball, how do you feel about poop?
Well, I was earlier today working on a number that is
On some poop.
fart. I was working on
Earlier
some
today,
shit earlier. No,
I
my
was
whole
taking
number
a
is like a
shit.
fart joke, so sorry. I love fart jokes.
think-
I love poop jokes.
I think a well done fart or poop joke is great. For me, though, there's one part of the episode where I was like, I didn't need that. And it was when you just hear things going, throop, throop, throop.
Oh, yeah, he said tides coming in, and it was just boom, 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 boom.
I didn't need the thwomps, but everything else about the episode was great.
We are in the kitchen. Leela is opening a giant can of kibbles and snouts. It's Nibbler's food. There's a big can opener there. We've never seen it before, but apparently it's there. And the magnet sucks Bender in and sort of slices off the top of his head. Bender shouts, "You killed my father, and now you've come back for me."
Great joke. Right off the top.
Pretty
Right
funny.
on. Yeah. Also, just, kibbles and snouts. The food they eat in the future, it makes me think that maybe like they've run out of like the meat
yeah.
we're used
Yeah.
to, and now it's like we gotta eat human. Oh, we got Soylent Cola now. Like,
It's all byproduct. It's all terrible. But I kind of remember in later episodes he could eat like large quantities of anything. Right?
yeah, that's
Nibbler-
a trait
yeah.
of Nibbler. When we first met him, he ate every other animal from an entire planet. In
Oh,
like one,
right. On like the Noah's Ark thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I think this is just the cheap, dense food that will satiate him.
Yes, because she later complains that all of her money goes straight to him. And I know that
Yeah.
feeling because I have 2 cats now.
Cute. What
Yeah.
are their names?
Archibald and Deborah.
Aww. Do they eat snouts?
No, we got them on real high class shit. And I'm like, pretty soon I'm going to just give you the Petco stuff. Like, I don't even, don't eat it.
my cat Tildy, we started her on the high class shit, and then she got sick of it, and now she likes the cheap stuff because now she'll only eat the cheap stuff. She's like into the fast food for cats.
I feel like that's
you're-
where ours is at. It's like, I'm tired of giving you like all these gelées and like all this like fresh chicken. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, I could probably eat that if he's not going to finish it.
We used to give Tildy this cat food that had whole little shrimps in there, and it looked pretty tasty.
whole little shrimps, and then I was out of the good stuff, and we had some like emergency cheap cat food in the house, and I gave it to her. Now that's what she likes. And
Oh
you
my
know
God.
what, the last time the vet saw her, the vet said she's a little too pear-shaped. And I was like, her body is beautiful. Do not talk to my daughter like that. Like she doesn't meet your impossible cat beauty standards.
I will say our cat Deb was starting to look a little thick, and we didn't know like how to tell her. We would slowly stop giving her as much kibble, but she would like come over and be like, "I know something's wrong here," and like she would look at it and look at us, and I was like, "Oh, she knows. She's mad too." Woo. But our vet never said she was pear-shaped. He just said she's getting a little thick.
Pear-shaped. Yeah. I mean, like, of course, like, we try to keep our pets healthy, but also, like, sometimes it's wintertime. You
Yeah.
gotta put on a little extra winter weight,
As long
Let
as
a
her
cat be a
coat's
cat.
shiny, as long as the fur is shiny, I'm happy.
So one of my favorite jokes that comes out of Kibbles and Snouts is, Nibbler eats the whole giant can, and then Leela says, "Oh, somebody likes snouts," and Fry says, "Is it me?" We just get these little like glimpses of how stupid Fry is,
Yeah.
and it's what really endears him to me.
Yeah, it's just, I forgot. I mean, I hadn't watched it in like a year or two, but I just forgot how good this show is. And like
Yeah.
how well written every single line is, like a purposeful joke. And like something as simple as that, I was laughing out loud. Like it's so good.
We've got a bit of a rivalry going between Bender and Nibbler. It's the first I've heard of it, but apparently it's a big problem. It escalates to the point where Nibbler bites Bender in the butt and hurts his tooth, and Leela sympathizes with Nibbler, not Bender, which makes Bender mad. Bender says, "I've got a busted ass here, and no one's kissing it." And Dr. Zoidberg says, "All right, I'm coming."
Wait, I need to know the rules on how, like, what pain Bender can and cannot feel. Because, like, after getting his head opened by the
Great
can, he's
question.
like, ow, oh, I'm fine. But the butt, it's just too much.
It's not exclusive to Futurama. I feel like in lots of shows that involve robots, what the robots can and can't feel changes from scene to scene, you know? And also, one of my favorite lines of Bender's is, "As a robot, I don't have any emotions, and that makes me feel sad."
Which is not in this episode. It's in a future one.
It's in a future episode, but I'm just
he
saying.
deals with this a lot.
Yeah, this is a recurring problem for Bender. And they talk about how he doesn't have emotions. Like, just at this point in the series, we've seen Bender throw temper tantrums.
Yeah.
We've seen Bender be jealous, have his heart broken because Fry didn't want to live with him.
True.
At this point, Bender has displayed a lot of humanoid emotions. But I think what we're learning is he doesn't care about anyone else's emotions but his own.
But his own.
We see the length to Bender's selfishness in this episode.
And I can relate. I feel like I learned from this.
Yeah.
Lots of lessons. Lots of life lessons.
Life lessons.
So
They go to the vet. It's a future vet,
Oh my
so
God.
he is beat the fuck up because of all of the horrid pets that exist in the future. They are going to put a tiger
Replacement
tooth
fang.
on him. Yeah, a
Yeah.
replacement fang. But he goes back to the room with all the animals and it doesn't work, but something kicks his teeth out. I can't remember.
he says,
Yeah.
I couldn't get the tooth from the tiger, but one of mine got knocked out. So this dentist had a fang? Like, or is he going to
Maybe it
put
was
a
his
No,
human
canine.
tooth?
it was just a regular tooth. It was so weird that he was just like, he ripped out the stub and stuck his in.
Did he file it down? He had that little lasery.
I guess he could have
Oh,
filed
right,
it.
yeah.
That's a good point. I was just
like when girls get veneers.
and you get the little sharp
know about
teeth
that,
fixed.
Nicole?
Name names. Oh, I know. You get those little teeth. Those
Like
gross
half of
little,
the Drag Race cast.
Absolutely. And me, next time I go to Mexico, take them all. I want a flat front now.
Take them off. Add some. You know what? Give me extra teeth. I'll
What is
pay
it?
for it.
Most people have 32. I want 72. I want all teeth.
Just
I
a row
want
right
two
behind.
rows. Yeah, I want to leave here looking like a great white. I meant the shark, but that really I should
But
have
I do, but you
I should have tested that joke first.
They look at Nibbler's tooth, and Fry says, "Hey, look, it has all these rings on it." And the vet theorizes that maybe that's how many years old Nibbler is. Fry says it would take some kind of genius to count all those rings, and the vet
He's
says
five.
he's 5.
It's 5.
And I like
So
that
then
the
we're at
vet
Nibbler's
looks
birthday
at the
party.
tooth and then looks at Fry like, okay, something's going on here. Yes,
I feel like
we
it
get
would be hard to be a vet in the future because you would have to know about so many different animals from like different
Yeah.
planets and stuff.
Well,
he must be
I
a
don't-
genius.
I mean, he wasn't a great vet. He put his own tooth in that thing's mouth.
We never saw him sterilize the tooth. Yeah. He didn't
He
numb
didn't even
the
put it in
area.
milk.
So we get to Nibbler's birthday, and this is our first chance to hear what the birthday song is in the future.
Oh, yeah. The royalty-free birthday song.
I think we should all sing it. What day is
It's
today?
It's
Nibbler's
Bender's birthday.
What a day,
What a day for a birthday.
Let's all
Let's all
have
have
some
some
cake.
cake.
And you smell
And you
like
smell
one,
like
too.
one too.
That was terrible over Zoom.
It was very hard to sing at the same time over Zoom.
I kind of love. I think that's a fierce. I never say fierce, but that's a fierce birthday song.
It is. I was hoping that they were gonna do like a restaurant, like happy birthday.
Ooh, I love that one.
Yeah, that one's my favorite. And then they
That
bring
one's
you a
got
little.
some pep in it.
Now, why would Bender decide to make the cake during the birthday party?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, Leela has to remind him that he's the chef. We
Oh,
all
right.
have to be reminded from time to time that Bender's official job, Bender's job title is that he is the company chef.
Is he really?
That's what he
Yeah.
does.
Is that what
it's
his little
established.
job chip thing was?
I don't think he has a job chip because he's a robot.
Well, see,
so
I don't know the rules.
They make it seem like at any establishment that a robot works at, his primary function is to serve the humans there. Like they often are giving Bender tasks and he begrudgingly does them.
Mm-hmm.
But his like job title, I think self-appointed title at some point is just that he's the ship's chef for their long voyages. But he's terrible because, of course, he can't taste. He has smidgen, but no sense of taste.
But I thought it was like such a great misdirect with the rat poison. He's like, I'm gonna make them the best cake they've ever had. And then it was rat poison. I was like, oh, he's gonna kill it. And then it was like, that's for the rats. It's just so smart how he did like the misdirect. And then I was like, this is like a Leave It to Beaver episode if it all went right.
And now that those rats are taken care of, it's time to make a cake so delicious. Suddenly, Bender can cook.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a beautiful cake. We don't know what it
Gorgeous.
tastes like, but it looks
Tear.
good.
Yeah.
He cooks it in his stomach, which is weird because we talk about what is going on inside Bender's stomach a lot. But it's
Yeah.
also weird because he's in a kitchen, so he couldn't use
Could easily use the
stove
oven.
there.
No,
Yeah.
it's more personal if it comes from inside him. He
That's
also,
disgusting.
this episode starts, he whistles the song Sweet Georgia Brown, which I believe was used for the Harlem Globetrotters,
Yes!
right?
Globetrotter song.
If anyone wants to hear the song Sweet Georgia Brown sung by Nancy Sinatra, it's amazing. It's on Spotify.
Oh, I just knew it as the Globetrotter song. I didn't even know it had lyrics.
Of course I know it as that, but I never realized it was Sweet Georgia Brown until I watched it with captions today. It's funny because I love that song, and I know that song as the Globetrotter song, but I never realized the two things were the same thing.
Oh, crazy.
Can you guys whistle it? I can't whistle.
I can't whistle.
Me neither. Meatball. Twinsies.
You should perform that. I think I'd watch 5 minutes of this.
I should figure out a rig of just pull a basketball on my finger.
Just the whole
It should just be dangling from the ceiling
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
hold
yeah.
it like
You
that,
take a
but then you
drink
move
with-
your finger away.
It's just stuck to your finger. You can do
Oh
whatever
my
the fuck you want. Answer a text. That's a really good number.
That's
you can
a
have
great
that.
number. Ooh,
That's all yours,
will. Next time at Fat Slut.
Yeah, go to
So-
Fat Slut at Precinct, where Meatball makes people eat things. What is it?
Yeah, it's a sexy eating competition that happens at midnight. You know, you just eat sexy.
Ooh.
It was supposed to be for feeders and gainers, like that community, but
You
There's
opened
something-
it up to.
well, no, there's something
Competitive
about
eating
drag
world.
queens that they don't like to see eating, so they don't come anymore. But come anyway.
You want to
so,
Do you want to come? It works. It works. Try it because it's straight to
I'll
the
try
point.
it.
It's direct.
You want to
And
come?
they get in the room and it's like, how do you want to do this? And where do you want to come?
You want to
You know?
come? Okay. So
Nibbler comes into the kitchen. He is also singing the Globetrotters theme. Did you notice that?
No.
He's kind of, yeah, he's kind of like mumbling it to himself.
God.
And then he eats the whole cake, which, wow, that really sets Bender
because
off.
Bender had his back turned, he
to
said
wash
now
his
left
hands.
to wash his hands after he said now nothing left to do but spell check it. He's a robot. I have to imagine that
He's got a dictionary
already
there,
like
yeah.
it's all Like, is it possible for him to misspell something?
Oh no!
Well, he's like a manual labor robot, right? So maybe he's not programmed to know as much information.
It
True.
does seem like the robots were programmed to have human faults.
Yeah.
Like, that can't just happen on accident. Like, we see him basically, in a different point, we see him basically come out of the factory as the Bender we know today.
Yeah.
So we have to imagine he was programmed to be flawed. And I want to know what the purpose of that is.
Truly.
Mom has a god complex, I think.
She does. She definitely does. When did she make her first appearance? Was it before then?
Yeah, somewhere in season 1. We haven't seen her yet this season.
It's the anchovy. It's the anchovy episode.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But we've only gotten a taste of what's to come from Mom. We've only gotten a little taste of Mom. An amuse-bouche.
Bender is so mad that he decides to flush Nibbler down the toilet. Leela comes in just in time to see the little eyeball going down the hole. Pretty horrifying.
And then she's like screaming, and he goes, "Hey, I'm using that." Like the best line ever. Oh God, it was so good.
And
Can
pretty
you
much
imagine flushing a kitty down the toilet?
No.
No. But I did want to ask y'all, I was thinking about this when this moment happened in the episode. When you were a kid, did you ever flush things down the toilet that you knew didn't go down the toilet just because it was easier than doing what you should have done with that thing?
Absolutely.
If I couldn't finish cereal, I wouldn't know how to, I can't throw it away because there's still milk in here. And I figured, it's food matter anyway, so I would just flush like a half-eaten bowl of cereal down the toilet.
Actually, that's better for the environment than sending food to landfill. So if you have leftover food, it makes more sense to flush it because it's biodegradable than it is to send it as a mass to a landfill.
Cut to a Jinx Monsoon fan flushing like a whole Tom Turkey down the toilet.
Pouring everything else down the toilet.
Thank you for sharing that, Meatball.
You're welcome. I've seen your whole life change. You're in space now.
I was feeling guilty because I was saying, did you ever do this as a kid? But to be honest, I
do it all the time as an adult. I do it with soups.
That's a good idea,
dips,
though.
Chips,
because you don't want to plug up your sink.
I do it with the cat food that Tildy doesn't finish because I don't want to have to walk all the way downstairs and clean out the bowl. So I just scoop out anything she doesn't finish, throw it in the toilet, get the other bowl.
Perfect.
I got a system. But I was worried that I was doing something wrong by doing that. And you just alleviated that anxiety for me. You've been alleviating all my anxieties today. So I think in addition to my therapist, we might have room to talk about.
No, let's chat. I need it.
They have a funeral for Nibbler by gathering around the toilet and flushing an orchid down the toilet. And it's becoming very clear that Bender has no empathy. How are we going to fix this?
The only way we know how. Science.
Brute force. I just love Bender sitting on the TV watching the news to get a kick out of the horrible things that are happening.
And also
he goes above and beyond.
Yeah, and then he was also like, on the news, it was like, besides the family being killed, he also got diagnosed with terminal cancer. And he's like, but you didn't see that comment. I was like, sometimes I do feel like that. Like, sometimes I'm like, for people I don't like, I'm like, oh, great, another horrible thing happened to them. Good.
Not gonna lie, when a COVID anti-vaxxer dies, I have a little laugh to myself. Maybe that makes me a bad person. I laugh a little bit.
You laugh a little to yourself? Is it just a dry little chuckle?
Tee-hee-hee-hee.
Or a full
It's
laugh.
like that.
I keep it to myself, and then I talk about it on a podcast that people listen to.
Oh, no. A lot of people. Uh-oh.
Who would have
I don't know about a lot.
I like Trixie's joke of like, you don't make it to this point in life and now start asking if you're a good person. She says like, when someone like groans at one of her jokes, she goes, okay, don't decide at 8:37 in the middle of a drag show that you suddenly are a good person. So I wouldn't worry about it, Nick. You've always been a little asshole.
I'm very nice. Don't listen. Meatball knows.
Yes.
You remember that time I gave you those mushrooms? That was a nice thing to do.
I do. And I also remember being like, I'm going to die from these. That was at Akbar. That was a good time.
You were hosting a Learn the Words bitch. You did a great job.
Thank you. Until they hit. And then I was like, get me out of this place. Get me out of this hellhole. Although I love Akbar, it's not a hellhole.
It is when you're on mushrooms.
Just when you're shroomed out.
That's just one of those things that drag queens say. You could be at Carnegie Hall and you'd be like, now I have to perform at this shithole. Get me out of here. Oh, was that just straight up a Bianca Del Rio impression?
That was hard, Bianca.
I didn't even think of it.
Well, it's kind of a compliment because like you thought of the first queen that would perform at Carnegie Hall.
I think she did. I think she did, didn't she?
Fuck that.
No,
bitch.
Wembley. Sorry, just Wembley Arena.
Just Wembley Arena. Just 10 million people
no,
there.
Not Carnegie, just Wembley.
The professor reveals his invention. It's an empathy chip. It's literally just hammered into the side of Bender's head. He misses many times. And the idea is that it will make him feel exactly the emotion that Leela is feeling. But they have to tune it first. So at first it's Zoidberg. And then it's...
I suddenly feel like stuffing my gullet with stinking mackerel. That's me, baby.
Me. Wait, I also
so
like
proud
that
of it.
The setup for him not understanding what toilets are used for. Because he was like, let me tinker with your head. And he was like, why don't you use a potted plant like Fry? He just thinks that people pee wherever.
I love the professor saying, the professor has some really good lines this episode. I really liked the professor this episode, but he has through the miracle of science. And then when Fry says, will this help Bender to feel Leela's emotions? If by help you mean force, yes.
They tune the empathy chip. Bender says, now I'm worried that I'm not as smart as Leela, but at the same time, I'm relieved that I'm cuter than her. Amy says, that's me. And Fry says, thanks for covering.
Thanks for covering.
These are the thoughts that go through Fry's head when nothing else is grabbing his attention.
This time I miss Bender and I'm feeling nosy and opinionated, and everyone agrees that must be Leela.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love
I miss
that
Nibbler, not Bender.
Everyone says, that's Leela. Leela, all right. That's Leela. And then Leela's response is, thank you, Professor. She's always kind of taken pride in being prudent and opinionated. You know, I really feel endeared to Leela in this episode multiple times.
Yeah, me too. They made me feel what she's feeling. I felt like Bender.
Maybe that was...
Wow.
Maybe that was the
put an empathy
line.
chip in you. Yeah. And that is the central gimmick of this episode. Whenever Leela feels something, Bender feels it as well. So there's a funny feedback loop of Bender being mean to Leela and then making himself sad because of it.
Yeah, the delay.
Yeah. And then Amy takes Leela out to make her feel better. But then she ends up scoring with Armando.
Yeah, and this is what I was going to talk about. This is my favorite line for the commentary on our attitudes towards sex as a society. Leela, Armand and I are going to go to the back of his car for coffee. It sums everything up so perfectly. There's no subtext, but then also we're going to pretend we're going to go to the back of his car for coffee. It's such a well-written line. I don't need to explain the joke.
No, people get it, but it's just another instance where it's just like they didn't need that joke there. She could have said anything, but it was like a perfect joke for that moment. Mm-hmm. How many writers were on this show?
Probably
17.
17? You just knew that offhand?
I was like, Jesus.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was something like 12 writers. And I also wouldn't be surprised if they were all straight old white men.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or just straight white men of various ages.
I lost my virginity in the backseat of a car. Anyone else?
No.
No.
I've had front seat of the car sex, but
How
I've never
do you
had
even
that.
do that?
Girl, I don't even know why. I don't know
Was there
why
no
that
glove
was the
box?
best option.
Or what do they call that? Center console?
I can't remember. And also, it was on a crowded street. We were being so dumb. Why am I? That's so funny.
The only time I ever had like full blown sex in a car was like we were in at a public swimming pool parking lot, but it was like late, and we got into the backseat of like a Jeep Cherokee. But all of
Also
our
a little
friends,
room.
it was a little room, but the windows were tinted. But then afterwards, everyone was like, "Yeah, we were looking at." Like my friends were like, "Yeah, we kept checking on the car. Like we could see it. We could see it."
We saw the handprint, the rose
Titanic.
handprint. Yeah. One of my favorite things from high school is I was hooking up with someone in high school. We were both in The Wizard of Oz my senior year, and rumors were buzzing.
You were the
that
wizard.
I was the Cowardly Lion.
She was Toto.
And rumors were buzzing that the lion and the scarecrow were hooking up. I actually did provide the bark for Toto because the dog wouldn't bark on cue, so I would do the dog's bark.
It was a live
So I
dog?
was Toto.
Even when you
It
were
was
on
live
stage
dog.
with the dog.
I had to mask it. I had to find a reason for the lion to turn around, and then I go.
Also, the lion and
I'm
the
not-
scarecrow hooking up, two of the gayest characters in history.
And I remember my friend Penn said, rumors are going around that you blew the scarecrow in his Porsche. And I said, please. That's ridiculous. It was a Mustang. Or it was the other way around. I can't remember. The point isn't what type of car it was. The point is that I was a teenage slut.
What if it was? Yeah, what you went for the worst car? Please, it was a Miata. It was a good
Please,
time.
it was a Volvo.
Yes.
Yes.
You asked the question.
We are
you
back.
asked the question.
We're
you
back.
got us off topic. You
I know.
reap what you sow, Nick.
I know. It's just when you grow up in the suburbs, you can't go to their house, you can't go to your house. You just gotta go to find a church parking lot and do your thing.
Yeah, or
I was
behind
conceived
a
in a
Kroger's.
church parking lot.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh, conceive.
I love that we both said something interesting at the same time. Take us back to the episode, Nick.
Okay, so Bender can't stand feeling sad about Nibbler anymore. So Fry mentions, sometimes when they flush alligators down the toilet, they live in the sewers. And this gives Bender the idea that he will go into the sewer by flushing himself down the toilet to find Nibbler and bring him back and make Leela, therefore himself, feel better.
Yeah.
And this is the first mention of the sewer mutants. This is the first time we hear about it.
I just love Leela coming in and saying, now he's flushed himself down the toilet. Like, who's going to be next?
Fry and Leela venture into the sewers to find him. They're under Park Avenue, and Fry says, "Ritzy." And then they find Bender, and he's having trouble putting himself together. He's put a leg where his arm should be, an arm where his leg should be. I don't know why he doesn't know how that works.
Again.
He had no
Who
trouble taking his
knows?
head off and spinning it around like a basketball, but now it's like not screwed on correctly.
Well, he had to do it all, like, everything was detached. So
Yeah,
imagine, wasn't there that point earlier in the episode where he puts both arms on? You see one
That's
arm put.
from
Yeah.
the pilot, but
The,
yeah.
from the pilot, and Fry says, how did you do that? I don't know.
Well, maybe he was like a little dizzy because all the parts had spun down the toilet,
Yeah.
He could have
I
been.
mean,
okay.
also, he's still feeling Leela's emotion, and Leela's been going through a lot. She just had
Oh,
to
yeah.
jump into a sewer. Oh my God, when she throws Fry in, and Fry says, ugh, and the aftertaste.
We've got our gang back together. They are trying to get out of the sewer. They're just gonna leave Nibbler, I guess. But they get lost and they run into the sewer mutants. And there's so many of them, but only 3 of them talk, and they're the same 3 mutants that always talk whenever we visit the sewers. There's like the lizard lady, there's Dwayne, the guy with the forehead.
And
then there's the guy with the ear for, or he doesn't.
The arm for an ear.
the arm for an ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole line about you know he can't hear that well. He only has one ear. After being like,
Because he mishears harmless as armless.
yes. What a joy. What a gift. Also, yeah, you're right. Those are the only 3 mutants that ever keep coming back.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, well,
other than the ones we meet later.
Muse.
You know,
We get
Mr. and
Muse.
Mrs. Leela.
Yeah.
We get those two. We also get the high school teenage mutants
Oh, yeah.
later. Moose.
There's the one
and
that's just a foot.
The slug-eyed girl. Yeah, there's the foot. Well, he's a leg. He's a full leg.
It's true. He's a face on a shin. We get a tour of the mutant city where we're surprised to find out the mutants are actually quite nice. They give a tour of the city. There's lots of good jokes in the tour of the city. What's everyone's favorite moment in the mutant city?
The alligator line. They're like, is it true that alligators stay alive? And they're like, no, then what's that? And she's like, crocodiles. Like, it's so
There's a ton of them.
What I love is that I feel like someone in the writer's room wrote that joke and thought it was really, really good, and someone else in the writer's room really hated it, because I personally, I'm like, that's such a dumb joke. And they do it over and over and over. I was like, that's such a dumb joke. I saw that coming from a mile away. And I wonder if, this is my hypothesis, because you love the joke, I'm over it. I wonder if the compromise was that, like, one of the writers was like, we'll keep the joke in, but then at the studio recording, at the studio recording, they were like, hey, give us a snort at the end of the line. Because it's kind of like she says the joke and then snorts every time she says the crocodile joke. And to me, that says, I know this isn't a good joke, but remember, I'm a crazy mutant person. Like, we're giving you a lot here.
I like the joke. You're wrong, Jinx.
And they brought it back like what, 2 times, 3
more
more times, 2 more times. Yeah, it's like
That
they were
joke
like,
did not
it's so
have-
bad, we're gonna do it 3 times to let
Rule
you
of
know.
threes.
No,
Yeah.
but it didn't have that kind of longevity, except when she snorts, I suddenly like the joke. Like by the 3rd time that she made the joke and she snorted a 3rd time, I was like, that's what she does. She makes a crocodile joke and snorts, and I can get behind that Lotsie. I can get behind that bit. I don't know why.
Oh, also the suburban legend joke. That was really good because it had such a long build up to get to the joke. There was like 4 lines to get to her to say it, and I loved it.
Yeah, and there's a giant toilet in the middle of town that they flush all their stuff down.
Which I guess makes sense. I guess that
Adding
is
another layer to the parfait.
Yeah.
Okay, so we hear the story of El Chupanibre, which is a monster that has been terrorizing this sewer town. I, for many years, have wondered what the Nibre part of Chupanibre means. The only thing I could figure out on this viewing is I wrote it down, and I was like, oh, Nibre is almost Nibbler, and we're meant to believe at the introduction of El Chupanibre that maybe it is Nibbler, so it's just furthering that misdirect. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because it's not a real Spanish word.
Are you telling me Nibre is not a Spanish word? Wow. This entire time... I'm sorry, I don't...
What did you think it
meant? Let me white-splain Spanish to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't speak Spanish either. I thought it was a real thing.
I don't know why I thought it meant brain, but I've always just, there's no reason for me to think that, but I've always thought it meant brain, and I always thought that the name was he'll chomp your brain. He's the brain chomper. I don't know why.
Oh.
Well, chupa means sucker, not chomper.
So suck your brain.
The brain sucker. Oh, there's a missed opportunity there.
Yeah. They could have really went far with that.
If it meant sewer sucker, I don't know the word for sewer, but I agree. It could have been named better. But I did like the little Spanish guitar that he played.
Oh yeah, the song
at the tail. Yeah.
So, our trio thinks that El Chupanibre is Nibbler, which if they just took a moment to think
To
about
clarify,
it. It's like
ask questions, follow up
Nibbler
questions.
hasn't been down there that long for
Yeah.
there to be all these legends of it.
Yeah, I was like, wait, so in their minds, they think that he's escaping every night to the sewers and coming back?
They have to think that he's been to the sewer long enough or many times enough for this man to write a song about it. To accumulate all the myths and legends around this monster. They're really not, they're not using context clues to figure
No,
this
not
out.
at all.
And their lack of thought around that issue becomes a problem for them because they blurt out, "Oh, we flushed El Chupanibre down the toilet," and then they become sworn enemies of the sewer people, who up until this point were very hospitable.
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a little bit of a parallel between the queer community and the sewer village. And I've never thought that before until he says some
Especially
people...
in Portland, am I right, Maple?
He says something like, some people may find this disgusting, but for me it has a sort of quiet dignity. Like there was something about that where I was like, it's kind of like our seedy underground gay bars, It's like, yeah, the Crescent smells like shit. Yeah, the cock is the cock is styled like a horror movie scene, But it's our
how
home.
I miss the piss-soaked hallways of Oasis in San Francisco.
Yeah, there's a lot of piss there. I miss the original cock in New York. That's
what I was talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was like, that was nasty, handsy, going into a dark room.
I loved it. The whole room, the entire bar is lit by one hanging bare red light bulb.
Okay, wait. One time it was like DragCon weekend and I was in New York and I was in full drag dressed like a baby. Like full baby drag, and I was with my friend Steven Horbout, who's the producer of me running around DragCon videos, and he was like, "Let's go to the East Village, let's go out drinking." And then we stopped by the Cock, and they almost didn't let me in because they were like, "What are you doing? What is your thing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a drag queen," and then we had to like show them my Instagram to let us in, and then I tried to go into like the back room, and there was a guard that went, "Not you, ma'am, sir, not you." And like they wouldn't let me. So I was just standing around watching everyone around me get hand jobs while I was dressed in a diaper, and I was like, "Well, I might as well drink." Like there's nothing else going on.
One of my favorite experiences there is I was still in drag after a show, and I really, really had to pee. And there's two bathroom options. There's the private bathroom that's always occupied, and then there's the big bathroom with all the stalls, but all the stalls are always occupied. I'm like, where can a lady take off her entire outfit, her corset, her 4 layers of tights, and pee, damn it. So I knock on the door of the private bathroom that had been occupied for some time now, and I basically someone answers the door like this. And I said, "Can I please come in and go pee? I don't care what's happening. I won't look. I won't get involved. I just really need to pee." And he kind of ran it by some people, and they let me in to pee. And it's one of my favorite memories. And I hope that the Cock knows how much I love the Cock and how much I'm thankful that this place exists for our community.
Absolutely. That just reminded me, and I know this is a crazy tangent, but I was working the door at some event here in LA, and again, I needed to use the restroom, so I got up from my spot and I went over to go to use the bathroom, but it was like a cruisy afternoon party, and I see a dog in the handicap stall because I needed a lot of space to get out of everything. And I was like, oh, and I just open it, and there's 2 men fully fucking with the dog chained to the wall. And I'm talking about an actual dog, not like a pup or a person in a mask. And I was like, when you're done, just let me know I have to pee. And they're like, we're just finishing up. And looked at me
So
in
polite.
the eyes while he's coming. And then he goes, thanks. And they let me pee, but they left the dog in the stall. They were like, we'll come back for the dog. And I peed in front of a dog. Thoughts?
I just
Are you
imagine
sure it was their dog? Not just a dog that lives in the bathroom?
No, it was their dog because they came in with it.
Oh, okay.
I just imagine you looking over and seeing these 2 people fucking, and then you looking at the dog, and the dog's like, They're like this all the time. They do this everywhere.
It's a Sunday.
So, the episode wraps up pretty. God.
Quitty boy.
Oh, right.
like
We're
it,
talking about
so-
Futurama.
It wraps up pretty quickly, We assume Nibbler's El Chupa. Oh my God, Nick, I'm tongue tied. What's happening?
Chupa Libre.
Chupa Libre.
Thank you. Great pronunciation, Meatball. Do you do Duolingo?
Nope.
Do you do Lapete?
Nope.
So Leela sacrifices herself to draw him out as bait. She says they need a sacrificial virgin. She volunteers. A snout lady says, oh, good try, Leela, but we've all seen Zep Brannigan's
Website.
What is that website? Just a blog where he talks to, or is there like a whole sub page dedicated to the fact that he had sex with Leela one time?
Probably the second. Probably the latter. He's like obsessed with her.
I wouldn't be surprised, if he created the website to announce that he had sex with Leela.
Oh, it's not even like his personal info site. It's
I mean,
I
just
had
for
sex
that.
with Leela.com.
So she offers herself up as bait.
As a sacrifice.
As a sacrifice, we hear the steps coming towards us. Here's the big reveal. It's sweet little Nibbler, and then I fucking love it. Look, everyone, it's El Chupa Libre. That's not El Chupa Libre. That's El Chupa Libre, and it's the most horrifying monster we've yet to see on Futurama. And his line is,
It is the goofiest little growl ever. I was literally at that point. I was like, so now Nibbler's just gonna turn around and eat him, right? Like that's how this works out,
that
right?
would've worked.
Yeah.
Maybe because of what we know about Nibbler, maybe he's like the Eternals and he can't meddle in human affairs. He can only when there's like an interstellar, right? Only when there's like an
I just had
interstellar,
a whole-
because that's when he starts talking again.
Oh yeah, I forgot that he starts talking.
You
Like,
said
oh,
that,
man.
and then I went on a whole Brittany Broski kombucha
Yeah.
journey just now.
Leela must be less afraid so that Bender, the only one who's not incapacitated, can also be less afraid and go fight El Chupa Libre.
She needs to access her more jerky emotions so that Bender can regain his strength, his Bender powers. And by
Bender gives her a little pep talk
by feeling,
about how to be a jerk.
Yeah, and by thinking selfishly and being selfish, Bender is back to his old. It's like Popeye eating the spinach. he is fueled by selfishness, and he kicks El Chupa Libre's butt and flushes him down the
Flushes him
sub-sewer.
down.
But I love that the things that Leela thinks about when he's like, think about yourself, be selfish, think about you. She says,
I do need a
could
new
use
tank top.
tank top, a really nice tank top, and new boots.
With rhinestones, does she say?
Encrusted with jewels. This is gonna be an ugly outfit.
It's gonna be horrible. But also, I mean, it made sense because she was like, tie her up. Now rip her shirt a little bit. That line
That was
got
funny.
me.
I love that.
That's
I do
something
need a
I
new
would say.
tank top.
Just the sci-fi trope of like when Natalie Portman gets her midriff ripped off in Star
Yeah.
Wars Episode 2.
I just love Leela. This is the other moment that really endeared her to me is that she's just so prudent. She's just like, if I'm going to be selfish, I am going to focus on things I need. Eventually she goes around and she gets to just thinking of just
Like a spa weekend, but even that's pretty modest. That's
Yeah.
and then she says
pretty-
a Toblerone and a Toblerone.
Oh, and a Toblerone.
Which is
Now, what is the
delicious.
professor paying her that she can't afford a Toblerone?
Well, we don't know what the chocolate situation is in the future. Maybe chocolate
Oh,
is very rare
Oh,
and highly
true.
taxed.
That happens a lot in the future.
So yeah, it does wrap up very quickly after that. They are back safe in Planet Express. They have Nibbler. Everything's fine. The professor takes off the empathy chip and says,
Get
"Oh
this
my."
thing off of me.
He says, "Oh my, it wasn't working. So those emotions you felt were yours." And it seems as though Bender learned a lesson, but then we immediately learn.
Fry goes, so it looks like Bender learned a lesson about empathizing with other, whatever he says, and everyone at the table goes,
And then the professor reveals, "Oops, no, I was wrong. It was actually working at triple capacity."
And I still barely felt anything. My favorite is when Bender says a line like that. Sorry.
No, you go.
It's just when he says a line like that and then like immediately has like booze or a cigar. Whenever he's a jerk, he punctuates it with the jerkiest things you can think of.
I was kind of hoping that like maybe it would do like, right before the credits, there'd be a button of him being like, oh, I do really feel something or anything. And they're like, nope, just an asshole. He's an asshole. Leela's now an asshole. End of story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny that Leela learned from Bender and not the other way around.
So long, jerkwads. Yeah, they never said which lesson we had to learn.
Exactly.
We learned a lesson. Sometimes you got to think about you or people will die.
Meatball.
Yes.
If you go on to a Dragula All-Stars, will you please bring a Chupa Libre look?
Absolutely.
And dedicate it to Jinx.
I will. I'll bring a Jinx look too. I know she's a swamp witch. I've heard that before.
That'll probably be a runway category. The swamp, 9 of 1,000 swamp witches. The El Chupa Libre moment did remind me of a Zoidberg moment we glossed over. Is when he says, "The sewer is full of hideous freaks." One of my favorites. Meatball, you are the co-host of Sloppy Seconds, your own podcast.
Such a good pod.
Tell
and
our listeners.
You were podding before every queen had a pod, and some queens had two.
I was.
You were one of the
for like
pioneers.
5 years now. For a long
It's
time,
a great
we had an
show.
old one.
Everyone should listen.
Yes, over on Mom Network with you.
Yeah, we're family. We're work family. So over on Mom Network, Sloppy Seconds with Big Dipper and Meatball. Where can they find you on your socials?
You can find me at Spiciest Meatball on Instagram, Fat Drag Meatball on Twitter, and every third Friday of the month, you can come to Fat Slut at Precinct in downtown LA.
This is the compulsory question we ask every guest. Of the Futurama cast in the Futurama universe, you don't have to stick to someone who was in this episode, but tell us, who would you do from Futurama?
Fry. I love a dumb redhead.
You and Alaska are going to have to fight over him.
I'll fucking eat Alaska before she gets to him.
Is there...
No, he's just so genuine and nice and like, yeah, so what? He might be a little dumb sometimes. He's always so well-intentioned. It's just so, like, attractive to me.
Maybe this is just what, something that drag queens look for in a lover is like, he doesn't need to be the smartest guy. He doesn't need to be, the most handsome or the best in bed. He just needs to love me for me, damn it.
Yeah.
And Fry's unconditional love of Leela that we see time and time again in this show, I think that's what really makes him a catch.
But I'd also probably fuck Zach Brannigan if he would take me for like a ride on his ship.
Alaska said the exact same thing.
Treat me nice. And I don't care if he's got a big belly when he takes his belt off.
You and Alaska can be Zap's harem.
Ooh.
Today, I'm going to say I would do Calculon. I've never considered Calculon before, but he's, as far as animated robots go, he's one of the more attractive ones, apparently.
Yeah, he's like a soap opera star, right?
Yeah.
He's got to be attractive.
He's got money.
Yeah, I'd hit him up on Instagram.
Get right in there because you got that check mark. You don't go to the request. You end up right in the inbox.
I'd ask him if he wanted to come over and watch Futurama. All
and
right.
then you would text him while he's sitting next to you. You want to come?
You want to come? You want to come? I like the idea of going into a big group of people. Hey, I'm just taking a head count. You want to come? Okay. You want to come? You want to come? You came earlier? Okay. Let me know if you want to come.
Yeah, circle back.
Thank you so much for being our guest
Thank you for
today,
having
Meatball.
me.
Thank you. And I want to thank our listeners and our viewers. Nick Sahoya, thank you. You were the stalwart, guide for today's episode because that's 2 in a row now that you've had to keep 2 drag queens on track. Because we'll just, at one point, Meatball and I were talking about what? We were talking about Wizard of Oz,
Oh, yeah.
Porsche head, cars. So thank you so much, Nick. You're a very sweet boy, and I love you very much.
Mwah, Nicholas.
Oh, thank you, Meatball.
I'll give you kisses, too.
Listeners, viewers, you can catch the next episode, season 2, episode 6 of I'm 40% podcast next Monday, presented by Studio 71. And until then, have a great rest of your week.